Hello guys, how you doing? Today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about North Korea and the demilitarized zone between South and North, and my trip to this place, which took place on the second day of my visit. I had to go by myself. Koreans were not allowed, so I had to leave Son with his cousin in Seoul, and I had to go on this organized tour in a big group because there's no other way how you can even enter the zone. I decided to split this video into two because I think there's a lot of interesting information to say, and therefore first I'll just kind of summarize what I saw in the demilitarized zone, and then the second part I'll focus more on the joint security area between North and South Korea, where the forces, the only place where the forces actually stand face to face. So, for those of you who have no idea what the demilitarized zone is, it is a strip of land about 4 kilometers wide between South and North Korea. The border roughly goes along the 38th parallel. It's on an angle, and some of the places are quite, I wouldn't say dangerous, but at times disputed. So there have been incidents in the past. We in the morning we went to the demilitarized zone. Started by going to one of these infiltration tunnels, which the North had been building ever since the end of Korean War, supposedly to invade the South. I didn't really find that all that interesting. I mean, it's just a tunnel like any other, so there's only so much you can see in a tunnel, but there are other things that are quite interesting. North Korea has an army of about 1.2 million soldiers, and South Korea, I think, 700,000, so, all jokes apart, this is some pretty serious business. And you could actually see it from the bus. Straight away, there's a highway, that you have to take when you're going to the demilitarized zone, and along this, basically you're going along a river, and there's a massive fence with guard towers every, I don't know, maybe every 200 meters, every 500 meters, something like that. Soldiers walking along the fence, and it's quite a sight, really. Gives you this quite surreal feeling. It's like being in a movie a little bit. But after we entered the demilitarized zone, there's some pretty heavy restrictions in place. You can't take pictures only on designated areas, and that's a little bit annoying. But the weather was so horrible; it was raining all day, so pictures wouldn't have been that great anyway. I'd like to talk a little bit about these two villages that are in the demilitarized zone. One is in the north, one is in the south. The one in the south is called Daesongdong. The one in the north is Gijongdong. And these two villages are quite interesting because they're a good example of the psychological war that is going on between the north and the south. I think it was a while ago when the south put up a flagpole in this village, because they call it a freedom village, and there's a pretty big flagpole with a massive flag of South Korea flying above this village. Of course, the North responded overnight, put up their own flagpole, and when the South extended their flagpole a little bit, the North reacted by building this absolutely massive flagpole with a flag that's I think the biggest in the world, and the flag itself weighs like 245 kilograms. The flagpole is, I think, 160 meters, so you can easily see that from pretty far away. Actually, it's unbelievable that somebody would spend so much effort putting up a flag. Plus, I heard that you can't even keep the flag, keep the flag flying all the time, because when it starts raining, because it's so big, it gets heavy, and it'd be dangerous, and it wouldn't last. So they have to put it down a little bit. That's quite funny, I thought. So it's things like that you see, and then there's these signs of intimidation coming from the north, and you know, there's all this talk about propaganda, you know, being sent across the border by these loudspeakers that was actually in place for some time, both coming from the north to the south and the other way. And now after the North Koreans sunk the warship in March, Chonan, they're thinking about putting them in place again. I don't know if they're going to do that or not, but there's been all sorts of incidents in the past. The sinking of this warship is not the only violent act that happens since the Korean War. There's been all sorts of infiltration, you know, attempts and spies. There's even one failed attempt to assassinate South Korean president and things like that. But I'll talk more about all this in the second part of this video, so keep watching. Thanks.